Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
FSN, it's about what's next. Many people believe the problem with the world today is that people don't think. Yeah, they think. They get dressed in the morning, they go to work, they do their job, they go home, they eat, they drink, they sleep. But when it comes to real serious thinking, critical thinking, there just aren't enough of you out there doing that today. The person you're about to hear from is a personal friend of mine, and he's out there trying to change things. And I met him in a meetup group here in sunny South Florida, and he's trying to change it one mind at a time. His name is Sri Vasudevan. Sri, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kerry, for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah. So when you say people aren't critically thinking, that they don't think deep enough, what do you mean by that?
Well, there's, of course, in any problem that we either face as an individual or as a society, there's always pretty much infinite or indefinite amount of depth that you can go to analyze it, to really understand the problem, the cause of the problem, and really come up with the best solution. There's really no limit to the deep thinking. And I have always believed that the mind, the human mind, is the most powerful tool that we all have to solve problems. And my assessment is that the human race, and I include myself in this is not a condescending statement about others, human race, including me, I don't believe that we have nearly reached optimal level of utilizing our mind to solve problems, whether the problems are our own problems or the concerns the society at large. And so I believe that training ourselves and learning from others to better utilize our mind is going to really put us all forward. It's going to just evolve the human race into a higher and higher form of living. And so this whole idea has always fascinated me to see what it is that I can do in my lifetime to myself to think better and help others to think better and learn from others as well. And this whole activity seems to be a very suitable thing to try to accomplish that.
Okay, so let's assume that you're right, that people don't use, that you don't use your mind to its highest purpose or at its best functioning level. Okay, let's assume that that's right. Why do you think that's the case? Why do you believe that people are only using a fraction of their minds and therefore a fraction of your potential?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of distractions in life. And so people, I think it's sort of wired into us to find shortcuts. I mean, there's a certain amount of impatience also wired into our psyche so that we want to get to the solution quick. And so the natural tendency for us is to think less and get what we want. And then we have, on top of that, we have societal imbalances. When you have, for example, government policies or political policies that essentially want to provide entitlements to people, and people then start to assume that they have these rights, they are the birth rights. And so they would rather just get it given to them, and rather than work for it. It's always easier to just have something without doing any work for it. And thinking is work. I mean, essentially thinking is a very energy-consuming kind of work. You need to have a lot of energy to be able to think. You may be able to do some physical work when you're drained, but it's very difficult to do thinking when you're drained. You cannot be mindful every moment of your life. You will drain yourself. You have to also rest and take breaks so that you are ready for the next task. And this is an art. This is not something that humanity has mastered, I don't believe. And so it's not just a matter of some kind of a blame. It's something that we can get better at. And I don't think that we can perfect it anytime and say, oh, now I have become the best thinker and there's nothing I can learn anymore about it. But I think that we need to perfect it. But I also see some societal problems, such as, trends towards things like explicitly numbing the brain by drinking alcohol a lot or doing drugs. And these types of activities, directly numb your ability to think. And as this grows and as more and more people do more and more of it, there's just less thinking in the society.
Do you think there's an active conspiracy taking place to stop people from thinking critically?
I'm never a big subscriber of conspiracy theories because I think it's debilitating to believe in those theories. You feel overwhelmed by the big powers that you feel helpless. And so whether or not it is true, I would like to believe less in conspiracy, and I would like to believe more in doing what I can to help people become more conscious. And when individuals become conscious at an individual level, one at a time, like you mentioned, described the program that I was trying to do, work with one person at a time. And even if I made some small amount of change in a small number of people, that's quite rewarding. So I don't need to face society at large and say I'm going to just change the whole society. So at a very high level, there might be conspiracy, there might not be conspiracy. I mean, there's logical reason to believe that when people are not thinkers, it's easier to exploit them and make money out of them. So, it's easy to take the view that, well, therefore the wealthy people are trying to keep them that way and make more money. But it's difficult to prove anything like that because you could also make money with very conscious people. So maybe some people think like that, some businesses think like that, or some politicians think like that, but I don't believe all of them think like that.
Yeah. And as far as solving this problem, okay, it's kind of like a fish in water. The fish doesn't know it's in water. Even when it goes out of water, perhaps it doesn't know. How do you explain to people that they're not thinking critically, that they're acting effectively, automatically, by default? How do you get somebody to realize you're not a critical thinker?
Right. So that's a great question. So let me go a little bit to describing how our activity works. So the way our activity works is that there's usually a small group of people, say 6 to 10 people, and I ask each one of them to bring a question that they have perhaps thought about in the last week that is really an important question in their mind. So it is it is not just an intellectual exercise about something that has nothing to do with their lives. There's actually a question that is right now in front of their minds, in their life, that they bring to the table. And the idea would be they will post a question and then the other 5 people will give their perspectives about the question. And then the person that brought the question also can provide his or her perspective on the question. And then the idea would be to discuss the whole set of answers that came out for the question. And during the discussion, people can critique others' answers, or they can, ask them more probing questions about their answers, and sort of try to exchange ideas. And I think through this process, which is a very non-judgmental process, we don't try to say that somebody is right or somebody is wrong. or put them down for their answers. I think it's a very nice, friendly atmosphere where people actually speak their mind instead of trying to prove something to impress others. And that's the atmosphere that we're trying to create here. And I think in that process, people will simply realize that their horizon will expand simply by listening to other perspectives and also by going back and thinking about what they heard after the fact. So I can see this happening, and in a way much better than I even expected that it would happen. So even though it's working in a very small scale, I can see that people seem to be getting what I think they should be getting out of it. And perhaps you can comment. You have been to some of these sessions yourself, and you can perhaps share your own ideas about what you witnessed in these discussion sessions.
Well, sometimes I wonder, we do have people who kind of espouse a particular political view. And from my own personal way of thinking, the moment you devolve into the right-left paradigm, you're no longer thinking critically. You're thinking by default. You've been sucked into the propaganda. It just doesn't matter because that's what they want you to think. So, you know what I'm saying there, without naming names, if you will.
Yeah, I know. I think you're making a very important point. So let's just talk just for a couple of minutes about politics in this country, because I think what has happened in the political dialogue in this country has deteriorated because they have created a very polarized dialogue between the two major parties, and most of the people that are in the extreme are, they are permanently Democratic in the view or permanently Republican in the view, and they always take that view. They simply don't listen to the other side. And so these people in the extremes must realize that they are being blindsided by this ideology, the ideological alignment that they have. And the majority of the people, or at least from what I can gather, are at the center. And we must realize that this majority is at the center not because they love both parties. It's more because they don't like either party. And so the people that are at the extreme must realize that if majority of Americans do not like either party, they're probably missing at least half of the reality here by saying that they love this party. And so I think that it's very, very important that people critically think about what their own party is saying, as well as listen to the other side with an open mind and try to see their perspective, and then make up your mind rather than just blindly take party allegiance.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you, although I don't really fit into the middle of either party, but that's for another day. But there's great dissatisfaction with both parties. And for the first time, 42% of the country refuses to identify with either party, which is really a striking number. And then, at our meetups, we do get people that want to proselytize a particular view, either right or left, without naming the parties, because, just the thought of either one of them kind of makes me a little nauseous. And, I liken them to crime families, but you're pretty harsh with them, and you say, hey, no politics, because then people stop listening, and you really do kind of shoot them down, not in terms of what they're espousing, but in terms that they're espousing it at all.
Right. I mean, my I don't know how I came across in a couple of instances when political discussions took that turn to the worst. But my idea is that politics is fine. I think that we should discuss politics, but being a group of just 6 people, let's say 2 are on one side and the other 2 on the other side, And if they don't listen to each other, then the discussion deteriorates and we don't really go anywhere. So as long as we keep the rule that when somebody has the floor, the other people listen without interrupting them, it's perfectly fine to discuss politics. I think that it's when the emotions overwhelm the discussion. Once emotions overwhelm, then nobody is using thinking mind anymore, because then it becomes more a shouting match. That's when I think I like to put my foot down and say, let's move on to something else.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm just going to switch up gears a little bit. So the concept of the meetup, really, whatever your affinity, whatever your interest, there's basically a meetup out there for you, right?
Exactly. I think that the only requirement to attend and enjoy this activity is that you are willing to share your thoughts on anything and everything that matters, that is of interest to human beings, and you are willing to also listen to the other's thoughts. So it's a two-way process. So in fact, majority of the time you're listening, because you only get to talk 1/10 of the time if there are 10 people in the group. And so it's actually a listening exercise more than anything else. But you will have your floor and you'll be able to express your views. And I think it's an extraordinary mechanism for broadening your perspectives on anything that matters humanity.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you're always thinking of the internet really isolating people. You're kind of like an individual locked away in your home, sending out texts or sending out emails or posting blogs. And yet here it is, this whole platform is basically a means for you to socially expand your life.
Yes, I mean, that's actually good thing you brought that up, because the primary reason, the primary selfish reason that I started this was I found myself somewhat socially disconnected. I moved to Florida fairly recently from Massachusetts, and I wanted to expand my social connection. And I was looking for many kinds of activities where I could find people that I can use to expand my social connections. Going to bars or happy hours or dinners. And then finally I hit upon this, which seems to be such an optimal way to really meet people, not just meet people and say hi at a superficial level, but really get to know them, because they are actually sharing their deep thoughts with you on any issue. And I think that I'm so happy that I have done this from a selfish perspective, in the sense that I believe that if this continues for a few years, I probably will make my best friends through this process. And I think I already have made some very good friends, and I think that they're going to become closer and closer friends to me, because we go and share our thoughts regularly about very important issues.
Yeah, fascinating though, isn't it? I feel the same way. I moved down to Florida about a year and a half ago and made so many friends, and was speaking to somebody a while ago and says, Kerry, it's amazing. I've been down here for 5 years and like 10 times more people than I do. And I was just really laughing about it, because I was never really what you would call a really extroverted, outgoing person. And, here I am, know so many people that I would have never met otherwise. So, it's pretty remarkable service that's pretty much free to the end user. You just go to meetup.com, you type in an interest, if it's wine, if it's opera, blogging, self-defense, whatever it is in your geographic area, and odds are you're going to find a group that fits what you're looking for, right?
Yes, I really believe that since email, this social networking, especially this type of social networking where you actually meet people rather than have electronic communication like in Facebook, is probably the biggest innovation. I don't believe that we have really understood the significance of this yet, because the idea that we can actually actually meet like-minded people to do things of common interest, and technology will help you to do that, is just absolutely amazing. It's just it's a revolution. It can really change people's lives in terms, because social connection is such an important aspect of happiness. And Meetup.com is just an example of how we can actually use technology to accomplish that.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. So if you're interested, go to Meetup.com. If you're in northern Palm Beach County, it's Thought Provoking Pursuits of Northern Palm Beach County. And Shri, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been enlightening, and I guess your pursuit requires opening up one mind at a time, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I thank you very much for having me, and I hope that some of your listeners will find this interesting, and I hope I will see some of them come to these meetups. This is on Saturday evenings from 4 to 6 p.m. every Saturday that we meet in Palm Beach Gardens. So I hope to see some of your listeners there.
Yeah, no doubt you will. We've got some listeners that actually didn't even know about it. Were at the meetup with us. Hard to believe.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, that
Never
is wonderful.
expected. Yeah, it's a great experience, and if you can go, you really want to be there. So don't forget to look at the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. We'll have a link to the meetup right there, and just click it, and it'll take you right there, and it's free, which is the best part. Hi, it's Kerry Lutz. I recently decided to move my retirement account into physical precious metals to hedge against the coming times. If you want to move an existing retirement account into physical precious metals that you can hold in your hand, tax-free, there's no company that can do it more quickly and efficiently than Regal Assets. It took them just 24 hours to open my new IRA account, and all I had to do was fill out one simple form. The best part is that Regal Assets does all the work for you. They cover the setup and administrative costs for 2013. If you're interested in making the same move I did, call 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620. That's 855-678-6620, or visit them at regalassets.com. You'll be glad you did, and tell them Kerry sent you. What happens if the collapse never really comes? You need income, and Jason Hartman can help you get it. He's helped thousands of people realize their dreams of financial independence through real estate investing, and now he's got an unbeatable offer for you. He's offering my ebook, Forget Wall Street, Go for the Gold and Silver Too, for free. Just visit jasonhartman.com/Lutz. The first 100 Financial Survival Network listeners will get the book free. Remember, you can't afford to put all your eggs in one basket. Real estate should be part of a balanced investment portfolio along with gold and silver. Just go to jasonhartman.com/Lutz and sign up today. When it comes to real estate investing, Jason Hartman is the only person we trust on the Financial Survival Network. So make your money work as hard as you do by building an income property empire. Real estate is America's proven investment. Go to www.jasonhartman.com/Lutz and get your free ebook today. That's Jason, HARTMAN.com/Lutz. That's Jason, HARTMAN.com/Lutz. Jason knows how to help you retire with a portfolio of income-producing property. Go to jasonhartman.com/Lutz.
The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.